My wife knows you from all your cameos in Adam Sandler movies. I don't know if they're cameos, they're kind of larger roles. I know you from ESPN. I am decorating my man cave. Really appreciate you doing this. And then he sent a couple of pictures. That's pretty good. Like, that's beefcake right there. This one that's not a good hair color right there. That's auburn. That's not good. That's not beefcake there. But this one, I'm sorry to all the husbands out there if your wives or girlfriends are watching this, because that's beefcake right there.
They call it social distance.
Blue, picking up the blue in my eyes.
Members of the Dan Patrick Show have been practicing.
Ooh, this one's hot. Ooh, that's hot. Whoa.
It's the Dan Patrick
Got to go back to work. The NFL sent a memo to teams yesterday informing them that this year's draft is going to be virtual. All the participants will be at home when they do this. Now, I was told yesterday that you probably are going to have some teams that will be able to go in, sanitize their facility, because it's better than going to a hotel room or a Marriott, where you're in a lobby, a conference room, or some other hotel. I don't know what the commissioner is going to do. We'll ask Peter King about this. What I heard is you'll probably go to ESPN and conduct the draft there. You're going to have the NFL Network and ESPN. They're going to co-host the draft. I think you're going to have some of the hosts, Rich Eisen, maybe Trey Wingo. They might be at their home. Maybe Trey goes up to ESPN. Maybe Rich is at his home, and they try to do this collectively. There's a lot to be learned over the next 2 weeks, but that's coming up 2 weeks from Thursday that we're going to have this virtual draft. As you would expect, Twitter had some fun with the announcement. I can't imagine Dave Gettleman, the Giants GM. He's a notoriously old school GM. He's probably going to go, I don't know how to get on the internet here. He'll have dial-up there. He'll be bringing in, grandkids who will help him with this. You never know, but one draft can really set you up for a decade. Now, it can hurt you. Hopefully, if it hurts you, it's because of bad football opinions, not bad technology. But these are unprecedented times, no matter what walk of life you're in. And in about 2 weeks, we're going to witness the most unusual draft in NFL history. They will do a 30 for 30 on this draft coming up at some point, guaranteed. This was brought up yesterday by yours truly, and that is what happens if there's hacking that goes into people spying on your calls with Zoom. John Harbaugh of the Ravens said it's a big concern every time I read something like in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times that talks about how messed up Zoom is or some of these other deals. I immediately texted to our IT people, and, you're trying to do the best that you can. He also said that, you don't know how secure it is. The New York Rangers had a press conference introducing one of their draft picks recently, and somebody hacked in using, racial slurs with the hockey player that they drafted. So, hacking into a team's draft room on Zoom, I don't know if somebody is going to be willing to do that, want to do that, but you can't rule out anything here. Peter King, NBCSports.com, the NFL columnist and Football Morning in America. Good morning, Pete. How are you?
Hey, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing okay. No complaints here. Any thoughts on pushing back the draft, or do you think it's full speed ahead?
No, they're going to do the draft. They've gone too far to push it back, and I also think because they're going to have this, as I wrote yesterday in my column, there's going to be a telethon element associated with this draft. So I think they're going to sort of combine this telethon for COVID-19 relief along with the draft and do it that way. But no, I don't see them pushing it back, Dan.
Well, help me understand that telethon part of this. Are we going to have marquee players answering phone calls
That I don't know. I think it'll probably be mostly online, but who knows?
Okay.
Maybe they will have a phone bank of people. But the one thing I do know about it is I think it's going to have players, coaches, and a lot of former players involved. The NFL, I do know this is because it's going to be a weird year to get players involved in this. The NFL has already arranged to send out 50 little portable cameras that players will set up to basically record themselves getting calls from general managers and coaches and all that when they're picked. So that is going to be part of this. Dan, this is all going to be weird. The fact that as I reported, NFL Network and ESPN are likely to be doing a combined telecast, cats and dogs working together there a little bit. Rich Eisen, Trey Wingo, and Daniel Jeremiah, and all the ESPN guys, Kuiper and all those guys. So it's all going to be very different this year.
There'll be a 30 for 30 on this draft one day.
That's what Chris Ballard, the Colts general manager, said to me. Yeah, honestly, he said, they're going to do a 30 for 30 on this draft.
Be fascinating. But you start to look at this and I'm okay if they want to do the draft if everybody can do their job leading up to the draft. I don't want to force this into, hey, we're going to hold the draft no matter what. Is everybody going to be able to do what they would normally do or come close to that? Yeah. See that?
How would you like to be the team that is picking Tua Tagovailoa in this draft?
No.
Not only did Tua have 3 injuries, significant injuries in his last 13 months of playing football, 2 ankles, 1 hip, but now no team doctor can, let's say it's the Dolphins, who the team that's been linked to him mostly, the Dolphins want to pick him. So your team doctor and your orthopedist, normally on a player like that, he would spend a day with the Dolphins doctors and medical staff. They'd be going over everything. He'd be spending half a day, sitting with Chan Gailey and the coaching staff. Obviously, Brian Flores. They can't do any of that.
Yeah.
They can be on a Zoom video conference or FaceTime with him for an hour, and so this is, Dan, Mike Tannenbaum said last week he thought it'd be irresponsible for any team to pick Tua in the top 10. I'm not sure I'd go that far, but you're putting your career on the line. Basically, if you pick a guy with a significant injury history, because if that injury history flares up again, all of a sudden you're going to be the village idiot.
Yeah, and I wonder if all of a sudden Justin Herbert becomes more attractive to the Dolphins because he checks all the boxes here. He's healthy, and these injuries follow these players when they go from college to the pros. We've seen this with Sam Bradford, like a lot of these guys. The injury trail continues, and that might scare off the Dolphins if you're going to be picking that high and looking for a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, you just don't know. The key, though, the good thing for the Dolphins, quite honestly, is when you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, you've got a guy who's good enough to handle it for a year if he has to. And look, I don't care what quarterback you picked. If he's got the most pristine medical exam of any player in history, can you imagine Joe Burrow without any off-season program other than one that's staring at his laptop, doing it that way, and then maybe having a very abbreviated training camp. Imagine him playing opening day if there is an opening day. That's one of the reasons why my operating theory is I don't necessarily think it's any guarantee the Bengals are getting rid of Andy Dalton. Why would you?
Yeah.
You might need him.
Yeah, I wondered about that too, that it might make sense. And certainly if I'm drafting Tua, I'm not looking at, playing Tua in that first year. Like I would use caution with him. And if you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, that's why you kept him. I would just say, you're our quarterback, Tua. We're going to bring him along as slowly as possible. And you don't have to kind of throw him in there and say, all right, sink or swim for this team. But We're talking to Peter King from NBC Sports and, of course, Football Morning in America. Where's the commissioner going to be on draft nights?
I'd be surprised now if he wasn't in his house in Bronxville, New York, doing the picks from there. I mean, if you're asking every one of your employees, you're asking Chris Greer of the Miami Dolphins to have 3 first-round picks. This will be the biggest night of Chris Greer's executive career. And he's got to do it alone, sitting in his house, being connected by Zoom or WebEx or whatever they use to all other employees on the Dolphins. You're asking all these people to do this stuff from their homes, and you're not in your house. It'd look not too good. I think Roger Goodell is going to have his a little camera set up in his house, which is the easiest thing in the world. Half the free world. If you watch any news network now, you see all these people. Hey, they look pretty good on their remote camera. That's because everybody's got what Peter King has. He's got a spare room in his apartment in Brooklyn, and NBC came in and set up a camera. So when I'm on TV, it looks like there's a great setup there, and it's fine. So I'd be surprised now if Roger Goodell wasn't in his house. I don't know anything, but that would be my strong recommendation. And by the way, as I wrote yesterday in my column, I can tell you that there are TV people who really want Roger Goodell in his house because that's setting an example for the rest of America, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I still don't understand why the Panthers got rid of Cam Newton or the way they got rid of Cam Newton. Is there any other information about this? It just seems like there's some unanswered questions there.
Well, I'll try to read the tea leaves, even though obviously this has been a very well-guarded secret. It's no secret that Cam Newton wanted some sort of commitment. He said so in either an Instagram or Twitter post that he wanted a commitment from the Panthers. So this is a team that's got a new coach who's barely met Cam in his life. He got a new offensive coordinator who comes from the Saints school, who's 30 or 31 years old. He's a young guy. They're trying to build something for the long haul. Dan, the only way I would not have given Cam Newton a contract extension in Carolina, because I don't know what he is right now. The last year and a half, he's not been Cam Newton. He's been injured. So I would really want to see him, and I'd want to see if he worked in whatever offense we were going to run. So just my gut feeling, I think that they probably said, we'd rather get a quarterback to build with for the long haul who health-wise and in our scheme we're comfortable with. Ergo Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, but I guess Cam Newton's healthy, though. Didn't he get medical clearance here?
Yes, but even last year at the start of training camp, go back to what he told me late last July, and that is that he was learning how to be a different quarterback. You know, he had great respect for guys like Peyton Manning and stuff who kind of reinvented themselves with maybe a lesser arm late in their careers. And so he talked to me openly about being a different player and welcoming, playing the position maybe a little bit differently, not putting himself in harm's way as much. So, I don't doubt that he's healthy, but, in my opinion, being healthy and being handed $150 million over 5 years are two different things. I don't know what Cam Newton is right now.
Yeah, if he's going to be a pocket passer, then I don't want him. If he has that ability to be anywhere near what he once was, then I could see the fascination there or curiosity. But I was just curious about, could he have stayed
it's a good
there?
Question. I don't know. I don't think any of us know. And the other problem is, Dan, when are you going to be able to see Cam Newton? When is Matt Rule going to be able to run him through drills? When? August?
Yeah.
So this is all such a mystery. I don't blame the Panthers. I don't blame anybody. I mean, they got a new coach. They got to set themselves up for the long haul. I don't blame them that they're not that they don't want to get married to Cam Newton before they even go out on a date.
I saw where Hard Knocks is looking at both the Rams and the Chargers if they're able to have a training camp on time. What do you know?
I don't know a damn thing about it. That's the first I've heard of it. I don't know anything. Dan, you know what? I just got to tell you this. I wrote 11,455 words yesterday, okay? And there are 10 things that I didn't talk about, didn't discuss that I could have. I mean, there is more happening now in the NFL than there is in a heavy regular season week. It's insane. There's nothing. All these sports talk shows, all of your shows, honestly, I hate to say it because it's great for the NFL. I'm not trying to shill for them, but it should be all NFL all the time. Well, that and baseball in May in Arizona. That'll be weird. 4.5 months of every baseball game in Surprise, Arizona. And I don't know. That's a pretty weird thing too. So yeah, you're allowed to talk about that too. But there's an awful lot going on in the NFL. And Hard Knocks is about the 440th thing on my mind. But I will say this: if I were Hard Knocks, I'd pick a team right now, and I would start the cameras rolling. I mean, I wrote yesterday in my column, I followed the Indianapolis Colts basically last week virtually. Chris Ballard is having Zoom meetings with 19 scouts from his basement. And with scouts all over the country spread out because they can't meet personally. This is an incredibly fascinating time in NFL history. I mean, all of it is and this draft is going to be incredibly interesting. How it comes out, how it comes off, whether the NFL ends up giving people more time for their picks, how trades get worked out. I just think the whole time is fascinating.
Peter, thank you. Thank you for being Peter King.
All right, Dan, all the best to you. Take care.
Peter King, Football Morning in America. We're all learning this together in real time, but don't put out false hope. We don't need it. We need real hope, certainly when it comes to sports. And if golf wants to do this at Augusta in November, by then it should be good. Hopefully. But I don't know if college football season gets underway. My gut feeling is no, it doesn't. The NFL season, that's why they're looking at a 12 and 14 game schedule right now, just in case. And I have doubts if the NFL season will get underway on time. I had doubts about the NBA season even resuming 3 weeks ago. Baseball, they keep trying to cram in. Let's play a full season. Let's play through December. Let's just see where we are. Come up with hypotheticals, and then we can adapt in real time. 100-game season? Okay. When do you start? Where do you play? These are all real questions, but those are small questions and answers considering everything else that's going on. Let's bring in Bob Nightingale, covers the sport. What do you think of these proposals?
Well, I just don't see it happening, Dan. First of all, there's no way they're going to play in a plastic bubble in Arizona. It just doesn't make sense. You can't protect the safety of all the players under one roof and everything else, staying in hotels. Some of those rule changes have been discussed, but I think they can happen at any time. I think even if we have a season with fans, later in the summer, I could see some of that taking effect.
But why are they putting this out here, Bob, then if you don't think that this is really possible? Why are they floating these ideas?
I think it was just floated like, okay, if we get the health thing worked out, if all of a sudden magically we have testing, we can test on the spot and get results. But there's no way in the world baseball is going to do this when the public doesn't even have it. Baseball would get crucified.
Just the logistics of everyone playing in Arizona. 30 teams in Arizona, and are they isolated from their families?
Yeah, which is a big drawback. So how many guys with families are going to say, okay, I'll see you later. I'm going to be gone for the next 4.5 months. Sorry, I know you're pregnant, but I'll miss the baby and things like that. And you're taking reduced pay. Hey, when there's no games without fans, these players aren't going to be paid 100%. They're going to have to take a big pay cut too, just like the owners are. So all kinds of problems.
What are the other options here, Bob?
Well, the big thing is kind of sit back and wait. I think they've talked about some radical stuff, Dan, where you almost feel like an NCAA tournament and not brackets. But, say you start the season in September, play through until Thanksgiving, kind of a very short regular season, and maybe just a wild type of NCAA, November Madness type thing for baseball. But they're looking to play some kind of games, get some of the revenue back, at least do something. But they're certainly not going to rush into this.
But you also have Scott Boras, which I understand why he's putting this out. Let's play baseball until after Christmas. How do people react to? Okay, that's how they reacted. They laughed, which I said, no, that's crazy. But he's trying to get his, people paid.
Right. And that's the thing. Yeah, it's like, he's got a big overhead. All these agents aren't getting paid either. The players got bills. Everybody wants to get their money, but that money's not going to come. It's certainly not going to come at 100%. The owners are saying the revenue just from the ballpark concessions, parking, and all that is about 35%. As explained to me, if you're New York Mets and you're playing games in Phoenix, how are you going to sell advertising rights at Citi Field and that sort of thing? So a lot of money just won't be coming in. And if you're a player, do you really want to take a huge pay cut and play in 110 degree heat in Arizona without your families going around, and you're not even allowed to go out because all the bars and restaurants are closed?
You're Buzzkill Bob today. I thought maybe I was promising hope on today's show.
Well, the thing is that they really want to get going. I mean, the union wants to play, the owners want to play, and everybody else. But it's just like let's don't force feed this thing. Let's take some time. I don't know how all these other events are getting canceled. And baseball says, we're the only sport that's going to have the magical cure and the testing and everything else. You already have government officials in Arizona popping off and saying, wait a minute, now we don't have these tests for our own people that live here. Yeah. And we're going to give them for athletes that come from all around the world and give them special treatment.
What concerns me is these commissioners who keep putting out these timelines. And it's just, it's not dangerous, but it's false hope there where you're saying, hey, maybe if we have baseball in May and we have a 2-week spring training and then I thought Adam Silver did the right thing, the NBA commissioner. He said, look, I'm not going to give you any time frame the rest of this month. Let's reassess when we get to May. It feels like baseball is trying too hard to make this work. Instead of letting it come to them, they're trying to go after this, and you can't.
No, you can't. And I think, Seven was that big, pep talk with Donald Trump the other day with all the commissioners. Okay, hey, I love sports. Let's do everything possible. We're behind you. Whatever you guys can do to help out, the entertainment business and all that. So I think part of it's from that. But I agree with you. I think Adam Silver, was perfect when he said, don't even talk to me. We don't even know what's going on, until May, until then. So it's just way too much of a rush to say May. I mean, I don't see how that's possible.
And also how you're going to manage your pitching staff if it's a 100-game schedule season. Let's just say it is. Are you going to be able to add more players to the roster? I think there's a lot of questions that are left to be answered. If we do play baseball, what's it look like with your roster? If we do these double headers, having the amount of pitchers, are you going to be able to add a couple of pitchers here? What are your thoughts on that?
I think they'll definitely add 3 guys, Dan. So instead of a 26-man roster, and it's 26 this year instead of the usual 25, go to 29, 30 maximum. But you're right. You're going to need more pitchers, just like we did in after the 94-95 work stoppage, and do that. That's I'm not sure. 7 innings, makes sense to help out pitchers. But, baseball is so big on history and record books and everything else. All of a sudden, we see all these complete games and no hitters. It's like, wait a minute now. You're changing everything. Yeah.
Who would be the overwhelming who would be the favorite to win it all this year if we do play baseball?
My pick before this all came about was the Dodgers over the Oakland A's. I think the Dodgers are loaded. I love that Mookie Betts trade. I think David Price going from the AL East to the Dodger stave and pitching in that division, ballpark, he could be a Cy Young guy again. So I thought they were the big-time favorites. And I will say this layoff, though, even though I thought I was going to crush the Houston Astros with everything they're going through on the road, when baseball comes back, I don't know how much, fans are going to be jumping all over the Astros. It's like, with all we've gone through, are we really going to boo these guys? Do we really care that much about baseball cheating in light of what's going on with the rest of the world? So I think it actually favors I think it's a break for the Astros because people aren't going to give them such a hard time. And now you get Justin Verlander should be healthy by the time this thing resets, if it does.
Good stuff, Bob. Hope you're safe, and we appreciate your time, even though you were a buzzkill today.
My pleasure as always. Great talking to you, Dan.
And that's Bob Nightingale, USA Today baseball columnist. He's Damian Lillard, who joins us on the program from my Portland Trailblazers. How's the house? What kind of setup do you have there, Damian?
Man, my setup is the same as it always is, but I built me a little recording studio out inside the house. I got me a game room set up. I've pretty much been in the same room every day, man. So,
what have you been watching?
I watched everything on Netflix. Name it, I watched it.
So you watched Joe Exotic or the Tiger Show, whatever that show is?
The Tiger King.
Yeah.
Everybody been telling me about it, but I haven't. That's the only thing I haven't got around to. That's literally the only thing.
Yeah. Do you have a basketball hoop there?
I got an outside hoop.
Okay. Now, are you going to take part in that game of horse, that virtual horse game that NBA and ESPN are talking about?
I'm not 100% sure, but I know everybody loved Paulie's idea, so we'll see.
Yeah. Mark Cuban said he was all for that, and I thought, all right, who do you want a piece of? And then can Zion, what if Zion is in and he dunks? Like, are dunks going to be legal in a game of horse?
I mean, I think it's only right to not have Duncan be a part of it. I think that limits the, the amount of people who could do it. It's more fun when it's more based on, like, trick shots and skill and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you set your phone up outside, and then you shoot a jumper, and then Steph Curry takes the shot that he wants. I guess you could have trick shots. I guess, we could make this work. But who would you want a piece of right away?
In the game of horse?
Yeah.
I don't have nobody specific. I think if it actually did happen and they wanted me to be a part of it, I wouldn't really care who I was playing. I feel like I got a really pretty balanced skill set for a game of horse. So it wouldn't really matter to me, honest.
I saw where Trae Young was on Shaq's podcast, and he said that eventually he's going to be a better shooter than Steph Curry.
That's a tall task. But, Trae can really shoot, man, and he's young. I think over the course of his career, just from experience, he'll become an even better shooter than he is now, just based off of reps and this being his job. He'll be doing it every single day. This is the only thing he has to do. So it's not impossible, but Steph is the best shooter to ever play, and that's gonna be hard for him to accomplish. But I wouldn't say it's impossible.
But who has the best looking jump shot, like form wise? If you were going to teach it. Oh yeah, I'm right there with you.
Easily.
Yeah. Do you sample? What do you sample from other scorers or shooters?
For me, the first thing I see is what's the quality of the shots that they get. When I watch James Harden, he makes a lot of tough ones. And then when I watch Clay gets a lot of really high quality look. And then once he makes those, he starts making every one, no matter how close you are. If you got to take a dribble, if he's off balance, it doesn't matter. And then Steph is just whatever shot he takes, it just looks high quality. If it's deep, if it's off the bounce, if you foul him, even when he shoot from like half court or three-quarter court, is like you're looking like, man, I got a chance to go in. But when I watch him, I'm just seeing like the looks that they getting, and I automatically compare it to like, okay, when I get this opportunity, am I knocking it down at the same clip or as close to it? Or they get in a position to get this shot. You know, that's kind of how I watch it, and I try to position myself and use some of the things that I see them do to get certain shots so I can get them for myself.
Blazers guard Damian Lillard join us on the program. Who's most likely to make a run at Kobe's 81 points in a game?
Most likely to make a run at Kobe's 81? I think I'm definitely a part of that group.
Yeah.
I feel like I could get 81 in a game. I would say Devin Booker. I would say myself. I would say
Harden?
Harden for sure. And then another person I would say, who was maybe Clay.
Yeah. Well, Clay scored, what did he get, 37 and a quarter?
Yeah, I mean, Clay, like Steph, he hit you in spurts. You know, over the whole game, he'll just have a high streak, and then he'll get off the ball. He sit on the bench for, like, longer periods of time. But, like, Clay is just, like, super aggressive. He catch it, he firing. And once he get going, they, like, force feed him. They find him. And, like, he ain't shy about it. He'll keep firing and firing and firing. So I think I would say Clay, myself, Devin Booker, James Harden, and maybe.
I mean, Luka does it. Can Luka do something like that, or the Greek Freak?
I think it's possible for Luka to do it. I mean, Luka is just like he can really shoot, but it's like a LeBron type of game. Like he's just, you know, kind of playing the game, getting assists, and you know, he'll score in bunches and stuff like that too. I feel like 81 is just like pure a bucket getter. Like I can see Trey Young,
yeah,
like that, who's super aggressive, can really shoot. Draws fouls and stuff.
And you got to be a gunner and have no conscience. That always helps. We're
got to be somebody that just go for it. You know what I'm saying?
What have you been told about this season?
I haven't really seeked out a whole lot of information. I've heard that the NBA is trying their best to at least allow us to finish it. That they don't want us to just, you know, be canceled and have a champion and not be able to complete the season. I've heard that, and you know, they're exploring all options. So we'll see.
What would it be like to play in an empty arena?
Man, I don't know. I mean, it would be crazy just because I've never experienced that as an NBA player. And we play in such huge arenas, and, you know, we become accustomed to a certain type of environment. But I went to a small college, so I played in plenty, you know, 2,500 people in the building. I played in plenty of those. So I guess it wouldn't be completely crazy for me, but it's been a while.
Well, hopefully you're not going too stir crazy, and we look forward to you maybe getting involved in the horse game. You know, it could be fun.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I wonder how that would be. Like, would they just have us play, or would that be like a paid thing, or what? It'd be interesting. Like, how do they do that?
I think it would be just they would have a time frame where you would start your game with Steph Curry, and you guys would do it in real time where you had the camera on you, you took a shot. If you made it, then he has to match it. If you miss it, then he goes, he makes, you know, then you do that. And maybe, you know, it's going to be on ESPN, and maybe they can raise money or something like that. But I don't know I mean, it's just.
Like how would they televise it?
I guess they would have to record it. I guess they would just take everything in.
Take the video and then just play it.
Yeah,
like
yeah. And then you set up brackets, and then you go, this is the matchup tonight at 7:00. This is the matchup at 7:30. Matchup, and they could edit it down. I mean, you're a producer. You know how we can do this. You can put in some music in there. Put a music bed in there. Maybe put in some of your music from your, one of your albums, and we can make this fun.
Let my music be there.
Yeah.
Have a good time with it.
Yeah.
Hear you.
Yeah, throw it in there. Why not, man? Product placement. That's what it's all about. Hey, great to talk to you. We appreciate your time. Hopefully we get a chance to see you back out on the court there, and thanks for joining us.
Likewise, man. I appreciate you having me always.
That's Damian Lillard, 5-time All-Star.